Hey there, it's Allison coming to you live from Amelia Island, Florida on an absolutely glorious day. Little chilly this morning, 47 degrees. I have heated seats in my van and I have been using those. I know I'm a total wimp. I'm a Canadian girl. I should be completely okay with 47 degrees, but my blood has thinned after living in Florida for 8 years. Okay, but it is an absolutely gorgeous day, blue sky, stunning out here. If you're jumping on live, hi, I'm so happy to have you here. If you're catching the replay, I'm so happy that you're making time to catch the replay. This is a really important video to watch. So a few days ago, several days ago now, probably last week, I listened over the course of a couple of days to a podcast from one of my favorite health coaches, health gurus, podcasters named Sean Stevenson. I've spoken about Sean on multiple occasions. He's written a couple of best-selling books. He's got an amazing podcast. Love this guy, right? And I posted the link to that podcast on my page, both my personal page and my private group page. And I don't believe it got one like. Now, I think this is why. I know this is why. Because of the Facebook algorithm. Facebook does not want you to leave Facebook. So when you post, if you ever post like a video from YouTube or wherever else, and you wonder why it doesn't get a lot of likes or get a lot of attention, it's because people aren't seeing it. The algorithm is such that Facebook doesn't want people to see that, because then people are going to click on it and they're going to be out of Facebook. All right. So I truly, truly felt that the information, a little snippet of information that I'm going to share with you from that podcast was so incredibly important that I absolutely had to share it with you. I could not let it go. I couldn't just say, oh, well, whatever, nobody saw it. I need to share this information with you because it could be crucial to your health or the health of somebody that you love. So the United States, and I suspect that, North America, so United States and Canada, but let's just go with the US, is the most chronically diseased nation in the world. The most medically advanced, some would say, yet we're the most chronically diseased nation in the world. About 240 million obese people in this nation. We have an autoimmune epidemic. And about 60% of people in the United States have some degree of heart disease. Alarming facts. And it's interesting because the number one risk of dying from the COVID-19 virus is obesity. The number one risk factor is obesity. But here's a really surprising fact. The number two risk factor is anxiety and fear. Obesity is number one, anxiety and fear is number two. You can go find this through the CDC. They're the ones that have come up with this, the ratings of the risk factors, okay? And what are you seeing on mainstream media and social media? You're seeing a lot of fear-based content, right? So I want you to be mindful of that. Of course, we're talking about the microbiome and gut health today, and you're probably like, well, what does this have to do with it? And I'm going to get there. But what is shocking, surprising, and sad to me is that we have governments, because it's not just in this country, it's in other countries, but we have governments that are willing to spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on pharmaceutical drugs and vaccines in an effort to make us healthy, when that's not what makes us healthy. Not to say that there's not good reason for them at particular times, right? That they have their place, but they don't make us healthy. So they're willing to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on that, but yet they're not as willing to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on teaching people how to be healthy, on teaching people how to not be obese. So that's frustrating for me. Matter of fact, there was $100 million incentive in the state of California to get $100 million incentive to get people to get the vaccine. Why can't there be $100 million incentive to get people to eat healthier, to get people to lose weight and be healthier, right? So there's something amiss there for me. Anyway, what does this have to do with our microbiome? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to share a little bit of information. This was literally in the first 25 to 30 minutes of this 1.5 hour podcast. I'm telling you, this information will blow your mind. And if you want the link to it, let me know and I will get it to you if you want to listen to the whole thing. I do it while I'm, I put an earbud in and I walk around, do chores in the house, or if I'm walking outside, you can listen to it in your car. So I might not be able to have an hour and a half to listen to the whole thing at once, but I get it. I get it all in eventually. So let's talk about dysbiosis. A lot of people have what's called dysbiosis, and that is an imbalance of your gut bacteria. We had Tavi for a little bit today, and I was teaching him about bugs in his belly, right? And I taught him how to say microbiome. It was the cutest little thing. But we have good bacteria, and we have what's called opportunistic bacteria. So as long as the good bacteria is keeping the opportunistic bacteria in check, we're good. Our microbiome, our gut health is balanced. It's when those opportunistic bacteria overrun the good bacteria that they begin to wreak havoc on our health. So I'm going to get my notes. I've got like just a few notes here that I want to share with you from the first 30 minutes of Sean Stevenson's podcast. So some symptoms of dysbiosis are things like gas, bloating, autoimmune issues, and cognitive function. And Dr. Stephen Gundry, if you haven't heard from him, pretty well renowned in the world of gut health and other things. He actually pioneered the infant heart transplant back in the 90s. He's written tons of books. In his book, The Dr. Gundry Diet Evolution, he says, so if you saw the title of this, it's have you ever used your ancestors' genes as your excuse for your poor health? He says that our genes have very little to do with our health. They really have very little to do with what's going to happen to us. Have you ever heard anybody say, oh, my grandmother had diabetes, my mother has diabetes, and now I have it. It just runs in our family. Have you ever heard anybody say that? I hear it all of the time. It's not true. 8% of our genes have an effect on what's going to happen to us. 8%. That means that 92% of our genes, they're actually not our own. They're actually our gut microbiome genetic code. All right, 92%. That's how much control we have over our health. 92% of genes are going to determine what happens to us. 8% is genetic. Okay, what we get from our ancestors. Please keep that in mind. There's 260 times more genetic material than you and I have in our microbiome, in the bacteria within us. All right, the bacteria within us actually control our fate. We are a condominium for bugs, basically. All right, we are more bugs than we are not, believe it or not. I'm sorry if that grosses you out, but that is the truth. So if we keep our home healthy, we keep a nice, tidy condominium, they're going to keep us healthy as well. We need diversity in our gut. So that means you need to be eating from different whole food sources to have diversity in your gut. And you should also be eating seasonally, right? So our ancestors, our caveman ancestors, they actually had different microbiome spring, summer than they did fall, winter, because they were eating different foods in those seasons, right? So eat seasonally and eat a diverse diet so that your gut microbiome gets exposed to a lot of good, healthy, whole foods. Did you know that we are now living chronologically older? So we live longer, but our good health years are decreasing. So we might be living longer, but we're actually not healthy. We're living longer, but we're not having good quality, healthy years. The baby boomer generation is much sicker and on far more medications than their parents were. So what's damaging our gut microbiome? There's a lot. There's environmental toxins that you're bringing in. If you're eating conventionally grown produce, there's tons of pesticides and chemicals. It's going to wreak havoc on your microbiome. It's eating processed foods, stress. There's so much. But one of the things that's really damaging the gut is antibiotics. All right. So before broad spectrum antibiotics came along, doctors actually had to figure out the bacteria that was making a person sick so that they could prescribe the right antibiotics. Then they come out with broad spectrum antibiotics, and then they can just throw that at anything, right? But here's the thing, antibiotics don't do anything to viruses. They'll only kill the bacteria that they're meant for. Okay. So if you have a virus, it's not going to do that, but there is a placebo effect. So if you go in and you're sick, you've got a virus, the doctor just throws antibiotics at you because you'll go away, you'll leave thinking that you have the medicine that's going to make you better. But it actually, antibiotics does nothing for viruses at all. Okay. And if you are eating, oh, and this is a really important point I want to make here too. Out of Stanford University, they did a study and they discovered that it takes up to 2 years for your body to recover from one round of antibiotics. Up to 2 years. That's how hard antibiotics are on your gut health. All right. And if you are eating conventional meats, then you are getting a little dose of antibiotics every time you eat those meats, because big conventional meat farms are dosing their animals with antibiotics. If you've got 100,000 chickens in a barn and one of them is sick, they're going to dose the entire flock. All right. So if you are a conventional meat eater, you are getting a little dose of antibiotics all the time. So it is impacting your gut health. Those are my notes. So that's what I have to say about that. But I cannot stress enough the importance of a healthy, balanced microbiome or gut. All right. Another one of my mentors, gurus, is Dr. Mark Hyman. And I was listening to a podcast that he did recently, and he talked about a young patient that he had many years ago, probably 10 years ago. She was a little 10-year-old girl, and she had been diagnosed with some weird disease. I think it was some autoimmune disease. And she was on a massive amount of medication just so she could go to school, just so she could function. A ridiculous amount of medication this 10-year-old child was on. So finally, they bring her in to see Dr. Hyman, and she's eating a terrible diet full of processed foods, full of sugar, and he starts to repair her gut. So he starts to take all of that stuff out and put good stuff in. Of course, her parents obviously are doing this. And guess what? Her symptoms go away. She gets off all of her medications once he repairs her gut health. 10 years later, he gets in touch with her. She's now a college student, and he says, "How you doing?" And she's like, "I am perfectly fine. No more issues, no more medication," because she now knows how to take care of her gut. That is how crucial your gut health is. So if you want, again, to have your mind blown, there's in Sean Stevenson's episode, it's a masterclass. So it's snippets from different experts that he had on over the course of several months or a year, and he kind of put it all together in a compilation. There's one little snippet that they're talking about this woman who was a marathon runner, so super slim, and got a fecal transplant and gained 30 pounds because of the microbiome that was put into her body from the fecal transplant. So it matters. Your gut health really, really matters. If you want either one of those podcasts, either the one from Sean or the one from Dr. Hyman or both, please just comment below and say, send me the podcast, and I'll give them to you both. There's no point in me posting them here because then Facebook won't let you see this live video because Facebook doesn't want you to leave Facebook. Hey, I get it. So things that you can do for a healthy microbiome: eat whole foods, eat fermented foods, eat sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, yogurts. Try and stay away from low-fat, sugary yogurts. Try and get full-fat, either plain dairy yogurt. You can always add berries, add a little maple syrup to it if you need to flavor it up, or do a non-dairy, like unsweetened yogurt if you can. Eat fermented foods. Get a probiotic, get a really good quality probiotic. You've got to get your gut health in check. And I guarantee you, I truly, truly, wholeheartedly believe if you get your gut health, your microbiome in balance, if you are dealing with certain issues, you're going to start to see them get better. You're going to start to see things clear up. You're going to feel better. You're going to be pooping better. That's important. You should be pooping every single day. Good, healthy poops. I love to talk about poop because it's important. You'll be sleeping better. I'm telling you, it is so important. So I could not go without sharing that news to you, because if it helps one person, I've done my job. All right. So if you have any questions, if you've put comments here and I didn't see them, I'm sorry, I don't see them on StreamYard. I'll see them once I'm done this live. But please reach out with your questions. If you want more resources, let me know. I can give you what you need. And please take care of your gut health. All right. I hope wherever you are on this beautiful Tuesday evening, well, at least it's beautiful where I am, might be morning where you are. I hope you're feeling happy, healthy, and well. And if you're not, I hope that we can work to get you on the path there. Until next time, God bless.